Hello everyone, it's time to talk about something that has been bothering me for a while. And the best thing is that since all of you are Final Fantasy X fans, probably I am preaching to the choir and that's what I want, for everyone to agree with me. Today I want to talk about Tidus and how people call him a crybaby. So there was a time recently that I decided to lurk on a streamer that I don't typically watch, and she was talking about Final Fantasy X as the chat was asking about her impressions on it. And she said,
I didn't really enjoy it. Tidus was whiny and I just felt annoyed and like the game was just such a slog.
I typically try to be respectful of anyone's opinions, but in this particular case, I was fuming and clicked off in rage. This video is in defense of Tidus, and hopefully I make some pretty good points as to why Tidus is not a crybaby, or in the least, why it hurts me to hear him be called a crybaby. When we think of arcs, we do think of character development, that a character goes from being one way, and then they go through a journey that tests them, and then they find themselves a different way by the end. In Tidus's case, he is thrown into an entirely different world, and he has to cope with his life circumstances. He also very much has unfinished business with his father that has been looming with him for 10 years. I think a misconception is that Tidus went from being whiny or insecure or childish and then became a man by the end who bore his burden and stepped up. That is not the full story. Tidus already was a man. He already had the makings of a person of character. He was a good person from the beginning, just like Yuna. Tidus and Yuna mirror each other from the beginning as people of upstanding character. In contrast, the criticism of Yuna is that she was insecure and that she apologized and that she was naive. But her character was already quite good. The way she stood up to Donna was admirable. The way she said, "I would not criticize your ways, please let me be." That is extremely mature of Yuna. Tidus similarly has very mature, or maybe brash moments, but moments that show that Tidus is willing to sacrifice himself from the very beginning of the game. And we know that Yuna has always been willing to sacrifice herself. For one, in Besaid Temple, he goes in to rescue Yuna. He had no idea that she was a pretty girl. He thought that this was just an old guy or something. But when he heard that someone was in distress, then he threw out any problems, like, who cares? In the Ultimania, it says that Tidus ran in because of his relationship with his father. Tidus knows what it feels like for someone to be lost out at sea and for no one to do anything, for him to be helpless. And so he already has in his mind that if somebody is in need, he's going to take action no matter what consequences come his way. And even though he understood that it was a very bad thing he did, he also understood that these were just silly customs that were in this world. The value of a life is more important. In any hero's journey, the hero should have his own rules and convictions that are based in like true good. Meaning, Tidus values human life more than he values rules. Just like Harry Potter must be willing to break rules in order to achieve the greater good. So right away, we see that in him. He does it yet again in Blitzball. Tidus is a Blitzball star. He is used to the cheering on him. In fact, he's had dreams of being back in Xanarkand, of the fans, cheering him, of him showing off. He loves being in the limelight. But instead, what he does when people are cheering for Wakka, he decides to give up his position to let Wakka carry out the game. Tidus sacrifices his position for other people, not once, but twice. And so, in the rule of threes, he does it a third time, of course. It's not like Wakka, it's not like Lulu, it's not even like Auron. But we also see that the qualities that Tidus has are similar qualities to Jet has. The right thing to do, getting the Chocobo Eater, the moral compass that he has. Now here's why people saying he's whiny gets under my skin. He has dreams. We see into his psyche, and we know his deepest insecurity is being called a crybaby. Cry, cry, that's all you're good for. Something that Jet says. So when somebody actually calls in the real world Tidus a crybaby, I feel emotional because I think that's his deepest fear of being called that. And here it is, people's takeaways, even when his dreams are born to the world, raw and real. The real journey is him facing his father and also realizing that the crybaby thing, I believe it was just projection, because we see Jet crying in one of the Jet spheres. He cries missing his son and is constantly thinking about him. He just didn't know how to express it. And this is a real, raw, totally true experience that happens between parents and children. This experience is universal for any parent, any child. For me in particular, I had a fear of being called unintelligent. I know that I have a little bit of a baby voice that I never grew out of, and I have some what I think of as scarring experiences from when I was a kid. Learning how to count. I struggled with learning how to count. I struggled with learning how to read. There was a time that my mom got so frustrated with me trying to teach me to read that she walked out on me, that I was irredeemable. And that stuck with me my whole life. It only took me becoming an adult and having a conversation with my mother to realize that this is something that I had internalized, and that is not what she intended at all. And this is a journey that Tidus is going through at the age of 17, which is an incredibly mature journey to go through. By the end, he is a self-actualized person. He has faced his parents and understands the lies that he told himself. And so really, I think that this whole thing is a lesson in empathy. I know that Tidus is a fictional character, but we're all human and we're all going on these journeys. With that said, if you're one of the choir who I'm preaching to who completely agrees with what I'm saying, then you probably would enjoy my Final Fantasy X community, because we're streaming Final Fantasy X right now on Wednesdays and Fridays. Now that I've been playing Final Fantasy X again with the community, I appreciate Tidus so much more. Yuna has always been my main focus because I identify with her. But in my adult eyes, who has just gone through this journey and who feels so much more emotionally connected to that parent-child relationship, I am really relating to Tidus's journey this time around. Anyway, please do join me, and if you like this video, then you'll probably like this video that's on the screen.